Coming up on this Tuesday edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, Chase Sr. here with you. The Washington Commanders sent a message to the Eagles last night on Monday Night Football. What do I mean by that? Stay tuned to find out. And we're heading into Week 4, and the Philadelphia Eagles are already in the heads of the 1-2 Dallas Cowboys. Before we begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want Eagles shows every single day that are going to fill your cup and that are informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking, and involve you, Eagles fans from every pocket of America and worldwide. And I do want to challenge everybody on the show today. Yesterday, we picked up 217 new subscribers on a show that's approaching 50,000 views. On today's show, can we beat it? That's my sales pitch today. The current sub count, we're closing in on 85,000 subscribers, on our way to getting that silver plaque from YouTube. And today's Eagles Now is made possible thanks to our friends at Rhone. If you're looking for high-quality menswear that will allow you to look good, feel good, be comfortable with some high-quality clothing to add to your wardrobe, Rhone is your answer. I'm wearing their commuter polo on today's show, and you can get 20% off when you use the code CHATSPORTS at rhone.com/chatsports. Let's start off here. Are the Washington Commanders a threat to win the NFC East this year? As we know, there's been a lot of parity in this division as far as division winners. There has not been a repeat division winner in the NFC East since 2004, when Philadelphia was running things in the NFC East in the early going of that Andy Reid era. And I'll tell you what, Jayden Daniels looked very impressive in his Monday Night Football debut, a performance that was to historic levels and proportions. And my takeaways in watching Daniels last night, I cover all 32 teams in the National Football League. I love ball. That's been the case since I was 4 or 5 years old. And what Washington does, what the Giants do, what the Cowboys do, it impacts the Eagles. And of course, this is an Eagles YouTube channel. So when I was watching Daniels last night, and I've watched a lot of Caleb Williams in his first 3 games in his NFL career, Jayden Daniels is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. I know it's really early, but both teams are kind of in this rebuilding phase. I know the Bears' offensive line isn't all that good, and I will side with the coaching staff with Washington over the coaching staff with Chicago. But both players are rookies. Both were highly touted coming out of college. Both were decorated players at LSU and Arizona State for Jayden Daniels and at USC and Oklahoma for Caleb Williams. But the game seems to come more naturally to Jayden Daniels. He's more decisive. He knows where to go with the football. He has more of an ownership of the offensive system. And I just think that at all levels, Jayden Daniels has played so much better to start the year as compared to Caleb Williams. And the Commanders may have gotten the number 1 quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft class because the early returns are really good. Jayden Daniels was also surgical and so good on third downs. And over the last couple of years under defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, the Bengals have had one of the best defenses in the NFL with one of the top defensive coordinators. They could not get off the field on third down. And Jayden Daniels was able to move the chains with his legs, with his arm, making throws from sideline to sideline and at all 3 levels. And with his athleticism, him being a dual threat quarterback, he is a threat on the RPO or out of structure to run it and pick up first downs in that manner and produce explosive plays. But Jayden Daniels' arm talent is also impressive. And we saw this dual threat nature to his game last year at LSU when he ended up winning the Heisman Trophy, where he was able to tear up opposing defenses in such a variety of ways, and that's why LSU was able to light up the scoreboard week in and week out. Now, LSU's defense under Brian Kelly couldn't get stops, and that's why LSU didn't make it into the college football playoff because of the win-loss total. But as far as quarterback play went, and with where the game is today, with teams putting more of an emphasis on these dual-threat quarterbacks because they're so much more dangerous, Jayden Daniels has it. And then lastly, he was in total control of the offense for Washington. Very decisive. You know where to go with the football and when. And Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag calling plays, and the last 2 weeks, this Washington offense has been spectacular. Now, 2 weeks ago against the New York Giants, but last night against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's defense to start the year has been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, as now the Bengals are 0-3, so they're not off to a good start. But Jayden Daniels passed the eye test, and then the statistics were very, very impressive. And I do think that personality matters at the quarterback position. Caleb Williams, to me, has always been a little mentally fickle. I'm not sure about his leadership qualities. He seems to be a little bit of a sensitive dude. He pouts on the sideline and has bad body language. That's been the case so far to start his career with Chicago. And I understand it's hard to be happy when things are going awry, when your offensive line in front of you is awful, when you have a bad offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron, a bad offensive system, and a coach in Matt Eberflus who's not a head coach in this league, and he's a defensive-minded head coach. But this is also the case while Caleb Williams was at USC. And Daniels, to me, looks like a leader. I see how his teammates respond to him. He was able to carry the team offensively. He doesn't get down and out. He doesn't pout when things don't go his way. And up to this point through 3 weeks, it looks as though Daniels is the better quarterback. And Washington last night became the first team in the Super Bowl era with 2 consecutive games of 0 turnovers and 0 punts in 2 consecutive games. Really impressive considering that the Bengals knew they couldn't fall to 0-3 because when you do that, mathematically, it is so hard, nearly impossible to come back from that deficit and to make the playoffs. And Daniels against the Bengals last night had more touchdowns than total incompletions in the game. When I said that Daniels earlier put forward a historic performance, I wasn't lying to you because I don't lie to the people. 21-23. 254 yards, 11 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a quarterback rating of 141.7. And I really like what Washington did this offseason. First of all, it's a new era in our nation's capital. So long, Dan Snyder, the fraudulent owner, who was a straight-up joke. Josh Harris, the Sixers and Devils owner, takes over as the owner for the Commanders now. And I like the hiring of Adam Peters, who used to be the assistant general manager for the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners have had a bevy of success since 2017, and Adam Peters was with that front office under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan since 2017. They hired Dan Quinn as a head coach. I thought that was a little bit of a risk because if it's me, I'm pairing up an offensive-minded head coach with a young quarterback. But Dan Quinn is very highly respected by his players, and he did hire a good staff. And then what the Commanders did in the draft, Jayden Daniels, Ben Sinnott, the tight end, Luke McCaffrey, both of them have made plays throughout this year. Mike Sainristil still, Jordan McGee later in the draft. Like, they really crushed it in the draft this year. And then they were very smart in NFL free agency where they signed and brought in a bunch of new players, but to short-term contracts to kind of stack up that roster as Daniels is on his rookie deal. Now, I do think that Philadelphia is still the class of the NFC East, and that's been the case since the turn of this century. 7 NFC Championship game appearances since the 2000 season, 3 Super Bowl appearances since then as well, but I'm telling you right now that Washington looks as though they have their franchise quarterback, who is going to really test and tax opposing defenses, and the Commanders are a threat, and that's why it's so important for Philadelphia, especially this year, if they want to win this division, to have that defense play like they did against New Orleans and turn that unit around, because the Commanders are going to be pesky this year. I don't believe that the Giants are a threat to win this division, and we know the Dallas Cowboys are always going to be fraudulent. The Commanders, behind Philadelphia, might be the second best team in the NFC East this year. That could be the case, especially through 3 weeks of the year. So did the Commanders and Jayden Daniels impress you last night? Be honest with me. Don't cap. Don't lie. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know down in the comment section. Coming up next, how are the Eagles and the Cowboys heads already? All thanks to CJ Gardner-Johnson annoying Micah Parsons. Stay tuned for that conversation. But first, how about Roan being the sponsor of today's Philadelphia Eagles? Now, if you want to look good, feel good, look fresh, feel fresh, Head to Rome.com/chatsports and see what I'm talking about. Their lineup of menswear, absolutely sensational. And we have a sensational deal for all of the Bird Gang. You use the code ChatSports at Rome.com/chatsports and you will get 20% off your order. All of their materials, flexible, comfortable, stretchable, durable, wrinkle release technology, so you don't have to take your shirts to the dry cleaner any longer because the more that you wear them and the more you have them hanging up, wrinkles will disappear. They also have odor-free technology. So the technology on the clothing items, thanks to our friends at Rome, is really, really cool. I also like the versatility. You can go with the dress shirt, and you can have that dress shirt tucked in, tucked out because it's not too long. That's the modern day style that I really like. You can wear it just like this or under a suit jacket. I've rocked both styles. You can wear it out to a date night. You're getting some drinks with the homies, or you're at work, or you just want to look good and feel comfortable. I also really like their pants and their shorts as part of Rone's lineup. So see what I'm talking about and see for yourself at Rone.com/chatsports. Upgrade your fashion, upgrade your wardrobe by using the code ChatSports. You also get to save while you look good in the process. All right. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys here and how CJ Gardner-Johnson has annoyed Micah Parsons and how Micah Parsons secretly wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Things you love to see. We're heading into week 4. The Eagles are 2-1. The Cowboys are 1-2. They've had back-to-back really ugly losses, and Philadelphia is already in the heads of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's led by the man who really doesn't care what you think of him, and that's CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I love the swagger. I love the mentality that he has brought back to this Eagles team. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to see Philadelphia bring him back, because last year, Philadelphia didn't have a dog on the defensive side of the ball. This year, they have a couple of dogs. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jalen Carter, they wanted to take on and fight the whole city of New Orleans on Sunday, and it was a beautiful sight because that's what Philadelphia is all about. The I don't give an F attitude. Now, CJ Gardner-Johnson in the locker room, after upsetting the Saints, called the Saints pretenders and not contenders, and he dissed Derek Carr and saying they're pretenders because, don't forget, Derek Carr is their quarterback. He was also sitting at his locker in front of a contingent of media members, and he said the Eagles have the best defense in the NFL. He said, we have the best secondary in the NFL, the best linebackers, the best front seven. And he also showed off his Saints tattoo on the left side of his midsection and said, they got rid of me, but it's still tatted. I appreciate them, but they got rid of me. They wanted to say they have the best secondary, we have the best secondary, and we came in here into the Big Easy, and we got that dub. So him saying all of that made its way to Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons on his podcast after 2 weeks ago, they got shellacked by the New Orleans Saints, as the Saints put up damn near 50 points, had this to say about CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't know who CJ Gardner thinks he is. We've been dealing with this cat for a while. I think Derek Carr has validated himself way before CJ has. Did you think that CD Deuce was going to keep his mouth shut? Whenever somebody says something about him, he always responds. So he took to X and he said this, fam, the league knows who I am. Forget the narrative at Micah Parsons. You can check my track record and how I overcame a lot. Won a lot more playoff games than you too, my guy. And Micah Parsons hasn't had a lot of playoff success. I believe the only playoff win that he has is in Tom Brady's final season when the Dallas Cowboys beat the Buccaneers in the wild card round. Outside of that, it's been it for Micah Parsons. CJ Gardner-Johnson with the follow-up tweet. We can watch film on your podcast from your rookie year until now if people don't know who I am, with the 100 emoji. And then CJ Gardner-Johnson with another tweet. Respect is given, not earned. I understand it. Now, can CJ Gardner-Johnson play better? Yes. Has he missed some big tackles this year? For sure. But with his injection of swagger, confidence, the attitude that he brings, that's what the Eagles have missed on the defensive side of the ball. They've always seemingly had those types of players. He is made for Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is made for CJ Gardner-Johnson. And when he's been on the field, he's actually been a highly productive player with a lot of versatility to his game. He can play slot. He can play safety. Really, in 2022, the Eagles moved him to a full-time safety for the first time in his career, and he tied with Justin Simmons for the league lead in interceptions, and he missed a couple of games after having that lacerated kidney later in the year. And then former Eagle great Asante Samuel said this on X. And he basically, I think, quote tweeted what Micah Parsons had to say, or quote tweeted CJ Gardner-Johnson, and he said, "Why is homeboy worried about what you got going on? The Philadelphia Eagles are in the Dallas Cowboys' heads, and the record shows that I think Micah Parsons is just jealous of the Eagles. He grew up in the Harrisburg area. He went to Penn State. He has complimented Howie Roseman for Howie being a genius with trades and how he's able to work the cap. He couldn't believe that Quinyon Mitchell fell to the Eagles with the 22nd overall pick, and secretly, he's always monitoring what the Eagles are doing." And I get it. CJ Gardner-Johnson is not for everybody, but he's for us. The Eagles need this type of energy on the team. And with the attitude that he played with against the Saints, the attitude that Jalen Carter played with against the Saints, where he was talking shit throughout the game, he was pointing fingers saying, "I'm coming for you," with the way that they both played and shutting down that Saints offense that came in as the number one scoring offense in the National Football League, and then them yapping it up with Saints fans on the sideline. That's what Philadelphia is all about. Underdog mentality. No one likes us. We don't care. And I get that CJ Gardner-Johnson does talk a lot, and a lot of people want him to remain silent, but we're Philadelphians. We talk a lot as well. So let's round out with this. If you hate the Commanders and you hate the Dallas Cowboys, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and type F them down in the comment section, because that's the noise and energy I'm bringing here on the airwaves today.